Hi, friends. Welcome to Talk Green with CG. Today's is a special day because we have a special guest. Today's guest is someone who believes that change doesn't just start in the government or boardrooms. Change it starts right here in the kitchen, what we eat. We gather, we grow together. We are joined by Jeanette Irizarry, founder of My Mindful Kitchen and creator of the MMK Method, a transformative approach that turns everyday food routines into moments of mindfulness, learning, connection, and climate conscious living. With more than 25 years of experience in hospitality, from restaurant owner to sustainability writer to educator at the Culinary Institute of America, Janet bridges the worlds of food, family, and purpose with clarity and heart. Through My Mindful Kitchen and the Three Ingredients Kitchen, she helped families align their food habits with their values, reduce waste, save money, and discover joy at the table. Jeanette's mission is simple but powerful: to show that real cultural and environmental change can begin at home through small mindful steps in the kitchen. I'm excited to dive into her philosophy, her methods, and why she believes the kitchen is not just where meals happen. Rather, it's where parenting happens, gratitude is practiced, and global change begins. Welcome to the show once again. Welcome, Janet.
Thank you for having me. What a nice introduction.
That's amazing. I mean, what you're doing, what you do with the mindful kitchen is really amazing. It's really amazing. So I would like to ask, can you tell us about the mindful kitchen and the 300 kitchen? What inspired you to start something so amazing as this?
Well, it's been a journey. I mean, I've always loved food. I also am a big advocate for environment and sustainability. And it's been a journey to realize something so simple as our kitchen can be such, as you said in the intro, that it's much more than where meals are made. You know,
Yeah.
I grew up in a family in a household where my mom was a stay-at-home mom and she loved the kitchen and loved cooking. And, it was her happy place. And we actually sat around the table as a family having dinner most nights and totally took it for granted as to what was actually occurring and how she was teaching us lessons and everything from gratitude. She was teaching us skills. She was connecting us with family, and um, it was a beautiful thing. And it was a learning experience because I did not raise my kids that way.
Oh, that's amazing. So, what exactly is a mindful foodie? Like, what quality defined one? A mindful foodie.
Well, well, the reason I lean on the three ingredient kitchen, the three ingredients are not something you can buy. They don't cost anything. The three ingredients are mindfulness, belonging, and
Of
purpose.
course.
And so when you incorporate those into like the recipe of, how you want to live your life, they are, that's being a mindful foodie. And it really starts with just being aware, aware and
Okay.
having a respect for where your food came from, how it got to your table, and the fact that you're fortunate enough to have it. So as it goes
All right.
with what you're doing and why how it's green is because it really started because of reducing household food waste.
Oh,
Yeah, which is a
that
major
that,
contributor.
that's
Yeah.
yes, it's a major reducing household food waste is a major contributor to reducing environmental pollution, which is also contributing to, on a larger scale, reducing the risk of climate change. That's amazing. So with the three ingredient kitchen blends of mindfulness, belonging, and purpose, can you break down what each of these ingredients looks like in everyday life?
Sure. So mindfulness is, like I said before, just being aware, thinking of what it took to get that food from the farm to your table. And there's a lot. You have both natural and human resources. and money that helps transport it. So being aware, once you realize that and become mindful about that, you automatically will start wasting less because you'll have a more respect. So that's where mindfulness come in. Belonging is, I think, if everyone who's listening to this thinks back to memories they have when it comes to food in their kitchen or their grandmother's kitchen, or right now with you know people not having enough to eat. When you start to think about, it's a sense of belonging. How many conversations have been started over food? How many, you know, food, there's nothing better than sitting around and sharing a meal with someone and talking.
Yeah.
So that's belonging, right? And understanding that and not rushing meals. So when it comes to day to day life, a family sitting down and having a meal is giving your family a sense of belonging. Whether it's just with your family, whether it's friends, whether it's strangers, that's belonging. And then purpose is having a purpose, knowing that your food choices matter. And I think in today's age, we rush around and everyone wants to contribute to a better tomorrow, but don't really know how to. When you bring a purpose like reducing food waste or making your money go farther or helping someone else eat, that brings purpose to it. So put those ingredients together and you have, wow,
Wow.
a
Yeah.
recipe, a nice recipe.
That's a very nice recipe. It's a very nice recipe. Um, I'll hinging on belonging. How does belonging, which is the second ingredient, how does it relate to eco-conscious living?
Well, once again, I think I also say belonging. When you sit with a meal, I'm really an advocate of bringing kids into the kitchen, which I don't think happens that often. So, what I learned, so this is a little story that, as I said, my mom brought us up in an environment where the kitchen was a place of belonging. And I owned restaurants when in my career when I had kids. And that doesn't really give a lot of opportunity to sit around as a family for dinner. So I never really thought much about it until I read my son's college essay, and he had to write an essay to, impress the people who were, going to get him into the college, make a story, something that gives him a little bit of, stature. And I found his college essay on my computer. And basically it said, my mom owns 3 restaurants and my dad works for a major food company, and yet there's never any food in the house or dinner on the table. I was like, oh my goodness. And honestly, that's when I started realizing what I had missed with my family and how my mom unconsciously or didn't realize the sense of belonging she brought into the house, and the lessons she was able to tell us over the conversations versus lecturing about stuff. It was just wonderful time together and belonging.
Wow. I'm sure you must have missed that belonging with your mom.
Yeah, well, as I said, it makes me, I pick up a tomato these days. Like I live in a beautiful area where it's farm country, and when tomato season comes, there's nothing better than picking up a tomato. And every time I hold that tomato, I think of my mom because she always treated it with such respect and knew what that fresh tomato could bring and delicious food, which always helps when you're sitting around the table, right?
Yeah, yeah, it does. It does. So,
Yeah.
why why do you believe the kitchen, not the classroom, is one of the most powerful places of teaching kids about life values?
Well, because it comes in conversation and not in a lecture. And it's little
Okay.
things. Yeah. So you want to talk to your kids about not wasting food, and that's a big part of this, and having more respect for food. It comes where asking questions and getting them involved in the process of even cooking or shopping and going to local farm stands versus going to a store or looking where your ingredients are coming from. And that brings on conversation. So, instead of sitting down at the table and saying something like, um, what happened in your day today? It was like, wow, I wonder where this came from, or, how much water you think it took um, to grow this tomato or whatever, and how does that affect everyone else? And just natural conversations, or wow, we should really be happy that we have this food to put on the table, and why we should not waste it. It's not a lecture. It's just conversation. Why we shouldn't store this food with that food, and why we should be organized in our kitchen. It just helps with life skills in general.
Yeah, actually, I do concur with that. I do concur with that.
Okay.
It's more of a conversation than a lecture. Yeah.
Exactly.
So these days, when parents are busier than ever, how can mindfulness in the kitchen actually make life easier instead of adding just to one more to-do list?
That's a great question. I get that very often. Once again, it's about changing your mindset. And we're not looking for big mindset shifts. It's little things at a time. Because I say once a mindful foodie, always a mindful foodie. And once again, we have to get off of social media in ways. I mean, I like social media because I can help spread my word about this, and it's great. But when you're looking at these parents showing picture perfect meals or these great times with their kids, you gotta stop looking at those, because it's not about perfection. It's not about obligation. It's about the small chance to have more connection with your family, and to the mindfulness. And once again, when you get rid of perfection, and first also like thinking your kids, like I was just talking to a mom the other day, and yesterday, and she was saying like, my mom just wanted me out of the kitchen. In fact, if I went to help, she would take the spoon. Well, because maybe that was her sanctuary, and that's where she liked to be, and she didn't want the noise. But the noise can come into being helpful, right? Because if
Yeah.
you also get start rituals. Maybe before dinner, you're lighting a candle. Maybe you're playing some music. Maybe you're doing something that puts you in a better space, and also your kids. There's nothing like doing a good dance jam as you're creating dinner or putting away the dishes.
Yeah, yeah. I love what you do because I for one personally I would love to use that medium to I think that medium to connect with kids, especially when cooking in the kitchen. Because those random moments are moments whereby I feel kids can be vulnerable to their parents unknowingly, unconsciously.
Yes.
So, take for instance, we are mom is cooking in the kitchen, and she calls out to me to help out with the dishes while she's cooking, and just random thoughts. She brings up a conversation, and 5 minutes into the conversation, I'm already being vulnerable without even knowing. What you do is it's totally amazing. It's really amazing. It's really amazing. I would love to incorporate it with my kids too.
Well, and think about it. When you bring them into the kitchen, they're learning math. They're learning teamwork. They're learning responsibility. So, and they're learning
Yeah.
skills that's going to make them be able to go out into the world and not only play it forward by reducing waste and, treating food with respect, but the life skills they need to live on their own. You know,
Yeah, yeah.
it's important, and it's just, it flows out. And, the biggest thing is, I think when it comes to things like climate change, or like in the US right now, food prices are ridiculous, and food insecurity is really a big thing right now. So, cutting down on food waste and learning to respect food, you're also saving so much money. And the
Yes.
fact is that, but when you think about how can I fight inflation? How can I do anything about climate change? It seems like such a mountain to hike. And what can one person do? But the fact is, when you parent and bring this into the house, then it actually has an exponential approach. It gives, you give your kids the tools they need to go out and feel empowered. And just, it's really, it's about habits, having good habits, just like you teach your kids to brush their teeth. You're teaching them to respect and not waste food. So it's daily actions like that that really you can make such a difference. And that's what I want to scream from the mountaintops. Don't think you're, and that's what I'm trying to do is like, let's make that community of mindful foodies. And that's the power. And you don't have to wait for the government to pass bills or infrastructure to be put in place. This is something that you have control of in your own kitchen. And if everyone just made a little move in that direction, it would have just really big, a really big impact.
It will definitely have a really big impact from local to international. Yeah. Um,
Yeah.
you often say that the kitchen is a climate solution.
Well, that's that's true, and that's everything I'm talking about by teaching your kids or starting at home. So, as you mentioned in the intro, you mentioned that I teach at the Culinary Institute of America, and which is one of, I don't know, it's globally top ranked culinary school. And I don't teach cooking.
Wow.
I actually teach hospitality and how to be kind, and how to, words matter, and how big the hospitality industry is. But what I find, because I get the students as they're coming in, it's like usually the first class they're taking. How many of those students actually even coming in are not familiar with sustainability and not understanding the what impact they have as they go out into the world, and about food waste, and about just recycling and reusing and respecting each part of the food. So we can't start then. We need to start when our kids are small, and let them, by the time they come to the culinary, they should be ready to be the leaders in the food system and make the big difference. And that's where we'll have the big.
Exactly. But what is one hidden sustainability win in the kitchen that most families tend to overlook?
Well, I think how important it is, and this scares people because when I say just you don't have to be perfect, you do take small steps and start by being more organized in your kitchen, knowing what you have and what you don't have. Because just knowing what you need to know first or use first is important. It will automatically reduce your waste, or just simply being aware. Because now that I'm talking about it, you're aware, you're like, okay, I'm throwing away that half a banana. What could I do with it? And that's the fun of it too. It can be a game, when you get your kids involved, get creative of how we can use these things that we need to use creatively so we don't waste. And it's a fun process. And right now with the internet and Google, it's easy. Okay, I have a banana. I have a piece of, I don't know, apple, and a piece of brie cheese and a chocolate bar. What can I do with it? You set it into Google, you put it in, you come up with ideas. Or let's say you look in your refrigerator and you have, some carrots, some onions that are about to go bad, and you have leftover meat. And then you're like, oh man, you made rice the other day. What can I do with it? Think first, what am I in the mood for? Like maybe it's Italian, maybe it's Mexican, maybe it's Nigerian, maybe who knows, right? And the spices, what can I create to make that meal what I'm in the mood for? And it's not just using the leftovers, using what's in your pantries, and you know, it's a game, and you create something, and it makes a difference, and it's fun.
Okay, you've worked in the hospitality industry for over
Yes,
25
yes,
years. Yeah.
yeah.
Okay. What things do you think in the industry that they do that gives you hope for a greener future?
I think there's a lot of work to be done because household food waste is the number one contributor to food waste in our landfills. Second, I believe, is retail, which would include restaurants and other food establishes establishments. Um, I think it's awareness again, and if for us over here, and I think it's happening globally, is the price of food is very expensive. So if you equate every time you throw out one piece of food, anything, you're actually throwing away money. So when the hospitality industry can align that to understand that wasting less is going to make them more as far as profit, and that's in of itself is a positive change, and and education to their staff and to their customers also.
Oh,
So
oh, okay. So, being aware and also educating and enlightening their staff and customers will gives hope for a greener future.
yeah, and we need some of those famous top chefs to really stand up,
Yeah,
and there's a lot of them doing it, but they need to be more vocal about it. They got to be
more
really
vocal about it.
advocate. Yes,
Okay. So, if these global food brands they wanted to genuinely support sustainability, they should start doing about it.
absolutely. And as far as if we talk about a restaurant, simple ways,
Yeah.
nothing makes me nuts more than me not finishing my food, okay? I mean, I never finish my food, so I'm going to bring it home with me. I'm not going to waste it. But when they come to me and they put it in a huge box and then wrap it with plastic and then put it in a paper bag, like there's so much waste involved. Like more like even when you go to a fast food place, do you need napkins? Do you need ketchup? Asking the questions, like let's not, because 10 to 1, you're going home with that and you don't need, and it's not even just food, it's the plastics, it's the papers, it's everything that comes along with doing takeout or delivery. People need to understand that you don't need a bag for everything and you don't need these utensils or napkins or extra ketchups because what's happening? A lot of times they're just getting tossed, right? We over here in the United States, I think people just expect that. They don't even think about it. And we need to.
I believe that when they start being more vocal about it, it will create more awareness and people will start being mindful about these things. So, what mindful and purposeful kitchen practices, like practice tips, would you leave for our listeners on how to live sustainably?
How to live sustainably is knowing where your food comes from and everything that is involved in the process of making it will give you a new respect for food and appreciating those people who don't have enough and understanding that it's kind of selfish to be throwing out away food. So I can't help but just say be aware of what you're throwing out. That's the first little step, and don't worry about being perfect. Look at it as something, because the truth of the matter is i I use this as an example. um, sometimes I can save broccoli in my refrigerator for like 3 weeks and it will look perfectly new. And when you do that, there's such satisfaction. Like you can get satisfaction out of living more sustainably. You'll feel more aligned with your values because no one feels good wasting. No one feels good not being appreciative. We're all born with that. It's innate, but we get so far away from it. So if we can just understand that it will fill your heart. So like I like to say, being a mindful foodie is not just about nourishing your body, it's about nourishing your soul. And it's true when you look at it that way, how the impact of how you treat food and your food choices are part of the way you probably want to live your life.
Yeah,
Is that too
I
grand?
think from today I'm gonna be a mindful foodie.
Yay! Yay! I hope everyone who's listening to this will be. That's how we
Yes,
get the momentum started.
yes, I hope they become mindful. Like that's one of the reasons we have this podcast, and I hope that as many that listens to this and hears this, they are gonna become mindful about their food choices. Um, I also think, yeah, from what you said, we need to start respecting food. I think people disrespect food a lot. That's
Well,
why they okay.
we're at least over here in the United States, so many people and kids have grown up in a world of abundance, which is
Yeah,
lovely. But we've not gone over the top where we don't take the time to be mindful and understand what comes with that abundance and change our ways because it's a bad habit to be just over the top and um, be grateful for what you have and
yeah,
respect it, respect.
yeah. So thank you so much, Jeanette, for such a wonderful session. Like it's I wish we could go on and on and on and on, and I look forward to another interview some other time, sometime probably in the future. And all right, listeners, you've heard it from Janet. Respect food, be a mindful foodie. So the next time you are going out to purchase a food item, ask yourself, do I really need this? If you do need it, ask yourself, how much do I need it? Don't buy more than you can consume. And if you turn out to buy more than you can consume, eventually, instead of wasting it, you can give it out to your neighbor. So what a refreshing and inspiring conversation with Janet. And she's a true voice for mindful living, family connection, and sustainability. Her message reminds us that kitchen can be so much more than just a place to prepare meals. Rather, it is a space where values are shaped, gratitude grows, and real change begins. Ah, if today's conversation sparked something for you, you can make sure to reach out to Janet. Janet, what platforms, your website, where can our audience reach out to you?
So, best place is on Instagram. I normally do almost daily tips for inspiration to get you in that mindful foodie frame of mind, and that's at MMK Method. And we have a great website with a newsletter, which you can sign up for at www.mymindfulkitchen.com.
Yeah. All right. You've heard it from Janet, and I'm sure as you're listening right now, the moment you finish listening, please go on Instagram and look for Janet and follow her, engage, and learn more ways to be more mindful about the kitchen and your sustainable choices because every choice you make affects you, your family, the environment at large. So be a mindful foodie, be a mindful foodie, respect food. It's very important. Respect food. So thank you so much, Jeanette. It's an incredible time, and I'm so honored to have you here. Thank you for sharing your wisdom, your warmth, and your vision for a mindful, connected, and sustainable way of living, one meal at a time. Thank you so much, Jeanette.
Oh, thank you for having me. I appreciate and it was a real fun conversation. Thank you.
Thank you so much. So, our listeners, we'll see you on the next honest conversation on Let's Talk Green.